Hello, my name is Jason, and allow me to bid you a very special welcome to a very special edition of this, my very own podcast. Now, before I start, you must be wondering, what will I be rambling about on this wonderfully lackadaisical day? Well, my dears, the delightful and horribly ravishing topic for today's cast of pods is this: the complete and utter history of post-colonial Singapore English. Of course, before we can even deign to begin our delightful chat on contemporary English in Singapore, we must run our fingers slightly, only slightly mind, through the runny, wavy hair of its history. So close your eyes, my dearest friends and frothy companions, and let us bring ourselves back to the beginning. The noisy, bustling period just after the Japanese occupation. This was a very tumultuous time, with the evil imperialist Japanese rulers fleeing back to Japan and the evil colonialist British rulers trooping back to Singapore. Of course, not long after that, everyone got a little disgruntled at having to go through all that colonial nonsense once again, and so we sent little Tommy Britisher packing back home. Not that we weren't grateful to the British, for even after years under the friendly British yoke, we have to argue that they did give us plenty of things that we never would have otherwise. Roads, rails, courts, bureaucracy, teas, guns, but last and definitely not the littlest, the wonderful and horribly glorious collection of syllables and complicated grammar that we know as English. Now, the teaching of English back in the colonial days was mainly overseen by stuffy native British speakers who taught us the right way to speak, just as Her Majesty the Queen would pronounce her syllables. But when they up and left, so did the native English teachers, leaving us alone to fend for ourselves, confused, in that sea of awkward sentence structures and horrid grammar. And unfortunately, the standard of English in the country plummeted, having no native English teachers of the language around to guide us and smack us around whenever we pronounced the word the without the H. We were left with local teachers to pick up the slack, so to speak. So what happened then? Like what happens with languages the world over, we changed to English. Singapore, being a multicultural, multiracial, multi-language society, started adding bits of itself into the language. A little bit from Malay, pieces from Hokkien, Cantonese, and various other Chinese dialects, and perhaps just a teensy-weensy bit of Tamil. No more had we to stick to the received pronunciation of Queen's English, but we made it our very own. The newscasters on Channel 5 had their own stuffy English, the man on the street had his own Creole to stick to, and even the abeng squatting at the coffee shop could make it his own. It truly became a language for everyone. And so you see, my fair-weathered friends, this was how English, as we currently know it in Singapore, was born. From a language forced upon us by our colonial masters, we took it, molded it, and changed it, and formed it into our own image. And English is here to stay.